Australia will reopen its borders and end lockdowns when 80% of the population is fully vaccinated against COVID-19. A roadmap has been sketched out by Prime Minister Scott Morrison, even as the country battles a growing outbreak. He says hitting the target will allow travel bubbles to be extended to selected countries. Restrictions on fully inoculated people will be eased once 70% of the population are vaccinated. Mr. Morrison expects this to be met by the end of the year. But Australia's vaccination rollout has been sluggish. Only around 14% are fully inoculated.
Every single jab, every single vaccine will take us closer to achieving each of these steps. And Australians, we have to take each step together. And that starts with walking in the door of that vaccine clinic and seeing that GP, that pharmacist, the state hub, and getting that vaccine.
At the same time, concerns have been raised over military intervention in Sydney. 300 soldiers will join police patrolling Sydney's streets next week to enforce a COVID-19 lockdown. Some people are calling it heavy-handed, even as 5 weeks of tough restrictions have failed to curb infections. Danielle Robertson joins us for more on this. Danielle, the deployment of military personnel sparking controversy.
Yeah, troops are going to patrol the streets of Sydney on Monday, targeting specific hotspots in this COVID crackdown. And it has caused a little bit of controversy in this region. As you mentioned, some people calling it heavy-handed, some people questioning its use. The Australian Lawyer Alliance raising concern over its use, particularly in a liberal democracy. The area that the troops are going to be seen the most, the presence that they're going to be seen the most, is in regions where there is a high population of migrant and refugee communities. And leaders there have said that there have been mixed reviews to this announcement to the army coming into their area. Some have said it could raise concerns for PTSD, it could bring back painful memories because many in that area have fled the war, while others have said that it does provide them a little bit more safety and they feel a lot better having them around. So there is a bit of mixed reviews, and that divide is really right across the city, and the divide in opinion is really widening as restrictions tighten here. But the army was called in initially because cases are climbing in Sydney, and with the number of COVID patients in hospitals at an all-time high, doctors are actually calling for tougher measures to be put in place. So there is really this mixed review. It's now really about trying to balance, having these tough measures with people feeling safe to come to authorities, particularly considering that health authorities said today that some COVID deaths are happening in homes because they are too fearful or mistrust or don't trust authorities.
Now, while this is going on, Danielle, there's also growing frustration over the prolonged lockdown.
Yeah, the slow, incremental daily changes into restrictions are causing confusion and frustration and anger in Sydney. It changes every day. And we saw that at a heightened level last weekend when we saw mass amount of people come out in protests across Sydney against the lockdown laws. And there are indications more people are going to take part in demonstrations this weekend. Police have warned that they are going to be out in force. There are going to be at least 1,000 police officers trying to curb the protesters or contain them if they do go ahead. Fines for anyone breaking the rules this weekend, especially at protests, will be between $5,000 and $20,000. So a harsh warning from officers. They say they won't be afraid to arrest people. But from the Premier, she had a more grim reality, saying that people who break the rules this weekend won't only be harming themselves, but those around them.
Your actions will hurt, forget about the rest of us, but you could be taking the disease home and passing it on to your parents, your siblings, your brothers and sisters, or anybody you might have limited contact with in your workplace. Do not give those you love the most a death sentence.
So it's a time of heightened tensions here, frustrations are growing, but health authorities say if there is a silver lining, what that would be is that vaccinations are now starting to ramp up a little bit.
All right, Mary, thanks for that update. Danielle Robertson speaking to us from Sydney.